After nearly a year of silence, after months of fans accusing Nike of corporate malpractice for failing to market their $28 million investment, the swoosh finally spoke. It wasn't a press release, it wasn't a simple tweet. It was a cinematic bombardment titled From Anywhere.
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there?
Come on, guys.
Yeah, she can't make it from there.
No chance.
Caitlin, conmigo, let. You got it!
For 60 seconds, we didn't just see a basketball player. We saw a cultural pivot point. We saw Caitlin Clark, not in a training montage, but as the centerpiece of a star-studded universe featuring the Kelsey brothers, Travis Scott, and her legendary coach Lisa Bluder. The ad wasn't just selling a t-shirt, it was announcing a regime change. It was the formal declaration that the WNBA's Rookie of the Year had officially outgrown the league she plays in. But behind the 50 million views and the celebrity cameos lies a much darker, more complex story of jealousy, injury conspiracies, and a $2.2 billion war for the soul of the game. When Nike dropped From Anywhere, they weren't just showing off Clark's range on the court. They were making a statement about her reach across the demographic spectrum. The commercial starts small. A driveway, a young girl, a simple challenge. It's the Caitlin Clark effect in its purest form, the grassroots obsession that turned Iowa City into the epicenter of the basketball world. But as the shots get further away, the stakes get higher. Suddenly you have Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, the biggest names in the NFL, challenging her to hit from the parking lot. You have Travis Scott, the king of hype culture, looking on. The hidden message: Clark isn't a women's basketball star, she is an everything star. She is the bridge between the heartland and Hollywood. This ad didn't just happen by accident. It was a calculated response to the critics who said Nike was dragging their feet. While fans were begging for a signature shoe during the 2024 season, Nike was playing the long game. They were waiting for the moment when the public's hunger for Clark was at a fever pitch, and they chose the biggest sports day of the year to feast. Within 48 hours, the ad was everywhere. 50 million views isn't just a win, it's a total takeover. But here's the thing they aren't telling you in the press releases. The From Anywhere campaign is the opening salvo in a sneaker war that has been brewing for years. Clark's contract is an 8-year, $28 million monster, the largest in the history of the W. But even with that kind of money, she still doesn't have a shoe on the shelf. That honor belongs to her rivals. Sabrina Ionescu has the Sabrina 2. Aja Wilson, the reigning 3-time MVP, finally got her on after years of what her fans called disrespectful delays. There's a quiet tension in the Nike headquarters. How do you market a white rookie from Iowa with a $28 million deal when the greatest player on the planet, a black woman who just won her 3rd MVP, is only just getting her first signature shoe? Nike's solution was the logo. Revealed in August 2025, the Double C isn't built for a basketball court. It's built for a luxury handbag. Designers on social media pointed out the sporty luxury vibe, comparing it to Chanel or Gucci. They aren't just selling sneakers to hoopers. They're selling a lifestyle to everyone. And with projections saying Clark's shoe line could be a $150 million business, the pressure to get the spring 2026 launch right is astronomical. They aren't just launching a product, they're launching a franchise that could rival the icons of the NBA. While Nike was building the brand, a storm was brewing in the history books. You've seen the headlines, but the reality is much pettier. The rise of Caitlin Clark didn't just bring eyes to the WNBA, it brought out the knives, and the sharpest one belonged to Sheryl Swoopes. It started with a podcast appearance on Gil's Arena, where Swoopes seemed to go out of her way to discredit Clark's college scoring record. She claimed Clark was 25, she was 22. She claimed Clark took 40 shots a game, she took 22. She claimed it took Clark 5 years to break the record, it took 4. When you're a legend of the game, facts matter. But to the culture war mob on X, these weren't just mistakes, they were weapons. The fallout was nuclear. Nancy Lieberman, a woman who paved the way for the league, publicly cut ties with Swoopes after trying to correct her. Swoopes then missed a broadcast for a Fever game, leading to rumors that she'd been fired for her bias. The drama became so loud that it threatened to overshadow the actual basketball. It revealed a deep, unspoken fracture in the sport. The tension between the pioneers who built the league in silence and the new generation that has turned it into a billion-dollar noise machine. Then, in the summer of 2025, the music stopped. On July 15th, in the final minute of a win over the Connecticut Sun, Clark went down. She was seen banging her head against the basket stanchion, tears in her eyes, a towel over her head on the bench. It was a groin injury, but it felt like more. It was the weight of a 40-game rookie season and a high-stakes sophomore year finally catching up. What followed was a masterclass in uncertainty. Rumors swirled about the severity. Was it just a strain, or was it something deeper? By September, the fever officially shut her down for the rest of the season. A bone bruise in her ankle during rehab was the final straw. But look at the timing. With the From Anywhere ad set for Christmas and the signature shoe dropping in 2026, the league's most valuable asset was being placed in bubble wrap. The Fever locker room, which Sophie Cunningham famously described as having its own islands, was suddenly without its main landmass. The conspiracy theorists claimed other players were trying to hurt her, but the reality was simpler and scarier. The WNBA's new engine was running hot, and it almost burned out before it could even finish its second lap. If you believe the internet, the Indiana Fever locker room is a hostile environment where veterans glare at Clark and count her endorsements. But if you listen to the people inside, the story changes. Kelsey Mitchell, the all-star guard who had to share the backcourt with the most famous person in the world, called Clark a live light. She described a 23-year-old who wasn't trying to be bigger than anyone else, despite the cameras following her into the bathrooms. The Island's comment from Sophie Cunningham? It wasn't about hate. It was about the brutal difficulty of building a winning culture under the most intense microscope in sports history. The Fever were a team that had been at the bottom for a decade. Suddenly, they were the circled game on every team's schedule. Everyone wanted a piece of the Clark hype, and the pressure of being the league's villain for simply existing took a toll. But when the dust settled, the veterans weren't jealous of the money. They were protective of the kid in a candy store who just wanted to hoop. All of this, the ads, the injuries, the drama, is building toward January 9th, 2026. That is the deadline for the most important negotiation in the history of women's sports. The WNBA players have opted out of their collective bargaining agreement, and they are demanding what they're owed. The league just signed a $2.2 billion media rights deal. Team valuations are skyrocketing, with the Fever now worth an estimated $370 million. But the players, they're still wearing "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts during warm-ups. They're fighting for a $1 million max salary and a real share of the revenue. Caitlin Clark is the lever they're using to move the world. Her presence alone increased the league's value by an estimated $875 million. She is the reason the league finally agreed to pay $50 million for charter flights after years of saying it was too expensive. The private jets aren't just about comfort, they're about safety. They're about the fact that Clark can't walk through a public airport anymore without being mobbed. The business of the WNBA is no longer about survival, it's about expansion, and Clark is the one holding the map. As we look toward 2026, the From Anywhere ad feels like a prophecy. Nike is gearing up for what they expect to be the biggest sneaker launch in women's basketball history. While the technical specs are still hidden, we know the Double C logo is ready to be slapped on everything from hoodies to high-performance footwear. Besides, the strategy is clear. Bridge the gap between the hardwood and the high street. If the logo reminds you of Chanel, that's because Nike wants you to buy it even if you've never picked up a basketball. They're betting that the Caitlin Clark effect isn't just a flash in the pan, it's a permanent shift in how we value female athletes. The 2025 injury was a setback, but it may have been the reset she needed. Away from the noise, away from the physical hip checks from veterans like Skylar Diggins-Smith, Clark has been in the lab. She reported being 100% healthy by December, just in time for the Nike Blitz. The sophomore slump is over. The signature era is about to begin. Caitlin Clark didn't just redefine WNBA stardom with a Nike ad. She redefined the ceiling of what is possible for a woman in professional sports. She proved that a girl from Iowa could command a $28 million contract, drive 50 million views on a holiday morning, and force a billion-dollar league to change its rules. The From Anywhere campaign isn't just about a logo range three-pointer. It's about the journey from a driveway in West Des Moines to the center of the global athletic conversation. It's about the fact that greatness doesn't care about your zip code, your gender, or the adjustment periods the doubters say you need. In 2026, when you see that interlocking CC on the feet of kids in every gym in America, remember the Christmas morning when the silence finally broke. Nike didn't just release an ad. They released a new reality, and in this reality, the biggest star in the world can come from anywhere. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon is a structural transformation of the sports economy. It isn't just about one player, it's about the signature hierarchy. Nike's internal strategy for 2026 involves a sophisticated balancing act. By spacing out the launches of Sabrina Ionescu's line, Aja Wilson's A1, and Clark's CC franchise, Nike is attempting to manage brand equity while navigating complex social optics. The Aja Wilson campaign, specifically the "Of Course I Have a Shoe" messaging, was a necessary move to acknowledge a black veteran champion while preparing for a rookie whose financial scale could be 5 to 10 times larger than any WNBA launch in history. Nike views Clark as a crossover asset capable of competing with LeBron James and Kevin Durant for global shelf space. Beyond the shoes, there are the logistics of stardom. The transition to charter flights, costing the league $25 million annually, was a direct response to the safety concerns surrounding Clark. It changed the business requirement of the league from a model of survival to one of elite professional infrastructure. This investment protects assets, with Clark being the most visible. From a performance standpoint, this shift is expected to extend careers by optimizing recovery and reducing the mental fatigue of public travel. Then there is the sociology of the veteran-rookie dynamic. The friction seen throughout 2024 and 2025 is a classic example of generational tension during rapid, disruptive growth. Legendary voices attempted to maintain the prestige of the pioneer era against a newcomer who reached unprecedented fame without the traditional path of paying dues. Yet the 2025 injury crisis provided a moment of clarity. Clark's absence didn't collapse the league's ratings, but it exposed the fragility of a team brand without its centerpiece. The locker room dynamics actually solidified during this period. Veterans stepped into leadership roles that bridged the gap between the hype and the reality of the grind. As the WNBA enters the 2026 season, the From Anywhere campaign marks the point of no return. The league has been fundamentally re-engineered to support a level of stardom it was previously unequipped to handle. With a new collective bargaining agreement likely to reflect the league's $2.2 billion value, a signature shoe line set to dominate retail, and a fully recovered Caitlin Clark returning to the court, the WNBA is no longer playing catch-up to the cultural zeitgeist. It is the zeitgeist. The Christmas Day ad was the signal that the Clark era has moved past its introductory phase. The 50 million views were more than a metric. They were a confirmation that the world is ready for a WNBA athlete to be the face of global basketball. The range has been established, the signature era is here, and the game is just getting started.